I did mention is he really want to see the same thing as because the movement that we have is for deplorable, for the people. And he really want to see the Iranian people stood up and against the tyranny, because Iran, looking at history, the Persians, they are one of the key civilization of the world.
Yes.
From Cyrus the Great, and they have such a rich culture and to offer to the world. So I think we hope that Iran, people living in Iran and freedom-loving people, because Miles Guo previously said, giving regardless, look at the humanity, look at the evolution of human progress from all the way dates back to maybe 700 BC, looking at those, whether it's later on Roman Republic and then Roman Empire, you look at those all different ruling from the religious rule to the, monarchy, and then to the kind of a semi-monarchy, and then to all the way to the modern day democracy, particularly the system that the United States has, your founding father has established. Regardless what kind of system we are living under, people are actually has more in common than differences, because we all, regardless where you live, what system you're under, what color you are, your race are, we all want a safety. Okay, we all want a justice, and we all wanted to live our life as we wish, which called freedom. Okay?
As long as we're not harming others, yes.
Exactly. So we want the same thing. Okay, so don't tell me people are they want to be unsafe. Well, that person probably insane. Everyone wants safety. Everyone wants to justice, right?
Yes, no, exactly.
Nobody wants to born and be a slave. I mean, because they want to be a slave because they don't have other choices. So we all want the same thing. So Miles Guo said, in the history of the human civilization, we all answer a core question. Whatever system you're under, you have to ask whether the system is served the majority or whether the system is served only the privileged few.
Right.
Look at America is such a great nation. You're a beacon of the freedom. Why? It's because in the last 250 years, you have been remaining as the most rapidly developed nation in the world. And also, you offered those values, safety, justice, and freedom to most of your people. And for 250 years, that is why so many people wanted to immigrate to your country and wanted to get your green card and citizenship. That is why. That's why Trump offered the gold card, right? So is it $50 million and you can buy 1,000 of them? A quota is 1,000 or 10,000, I can't remember. But that is why. That is why people wanted to come here, is because you create a system that afforded to offer those things to the majority of your people. So we're talking about, by contrast, we're talking about Iran. Iran is a theoretical regime. And, the Ayatollah, the mullah, so they control everything. And Miles Guo understands the CCP and those dictatorship. And he reviewed a lot of information, intel, in terms of how they're personally, these are families, sitting on top, those are families. They're personally involved with the CCP leaders. They have a bank account. CCP created a particular bank for them to launder, to evade
for Iran's
oil. But yeah. And when Xi Jinping visited the then now deceased previous Iran president Raisi, and he died because of a helicopter crash. A year before he died, Xi Jinping met him and entered in a personal deal, because he wants to be the heir after Khamenei died. So they entered a personal agreement. So they're going to enrich the whole family. I mean, the people of Iran, just by chance, just by happen to be there, and this is how autocratic regimes do business. The people never in their equation. They only serve the privileged few and who are on the top. So now we see why people are not happy. Iranian people are not happy. CCP, Chinese people are not happy. You know why?
Yeah, because it goes back to what you said, that there's a few people being enriched, and the overall population is being slaves, pretty much, right?
It's fundamental. Yeah, it's a fundamental thing that we missed. We discuss, UN treaty, we discuss, border, but beyond border, I mean, don't get me wrong, border is so important, right? It's kind of attached to a lot of people's identity, but border is important. You should protect your border, but beyond that, we're searching our soul, okay? If we search our soul deep down, we all want the same thing. And we want, the system we've built have to serve majority of its people. If that purpose is opposite, right now it's opposite because everything CCP does is in the direct opposite of the Chinese people's interest. And not only that, it's actually at a price of hardship and even life of the Chinese people. So this is why you see why we wanted to topple the CCP. And matter of fact, the CCP is hurting America. Okay, and this is scary. This morning, just a few hours, maybe Carrie Lake is still doing the testimony. I mean, wonderful Carrie Lake is testifying in Congress on the Foreign Affairs committees. He had to explain, one of the congresswomen asked Carrie Lake this morning, say, why are you cutting,
all these jobs,
so many people off?
Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
USAGN and VOA. And this is exactly, I'm reading quote. This is Carrie Lake gave as it is, okay? And this is scary, and I want your audience to listen to this. She said, quote, the CCP has more say over the editorial content we produce. We stand for American people-funded USAGM and VOA and Radio Free Asia, okay?
Yes.
And then he went on, she said, I wish we did have some say over what information was going out. But unfortunately, because of this firewall, this place, which she meant to say VOA, this place can go totally rogue. It could go and put 100% pro-CCP information. They could side with the regime in Iran, and we couldn't do a thing about it. They could run an attack piece on you, which means the congresswoman that asked the question.
Yes.
And you couldn't do a thing about it. And this is a straight answer that given by your very own Carrie Lake.
Yes. And she's now the world's Carrie Lake because she's moved to Washington, D.C. But she was here, and Arizona will always have a part of Carrie Lake because she lived here for so long and ran to be our governor. And that would have been a different Arizona had she been our governor, and then ran for Senate, unfortunately, and lost to Ruben Gallego, and now has this job at the White House. So I'm happy that she's doing this, and it's actually a good job for her, given her background. And I love that she won't. It's classic Carrie because she won't back down. She'll look at the Congress in the eye, and she'll tell them the facts, and she won't be intimidated by them. And we need people to speak truth right now because there have been so many squirrely deals. There was an article today about we were talking about it earlier, the Chinese investments in Iran, lags behind what Beijing puts into other nations in the region. However, it looks like just under $5 billion since 2007. Chinese...
it's way more than that.
It is. I know. Yeah. And China kind of always says it's less. Whatever it comes out and they can show, China always says it's much less. So we know that but what's interesting, and I think this is important, that Chinese state-owned companies have largely stayed away, and I believe mostly out of fear of running afoul of the U.S. sanctions. So an expert from the University of, I can't say this name, Groningen in the Netherlands, Bill Figueroa, came out today and said, very low key. There's not been a lot of rhetoric coming out of China since this happened over the weekend. Do you think they were surprised that the U.S. did this?
I don't think they are surprised, but I think this was kept really secret, which is awesome, compared with the previous signal kind of a issue that the people within the national security that leaked out information.
So the first week on the job when the reporter was on the chain, yes.
So this was beautifully executed. Because, and there's a decoy, there's a little bit level of deception. And so kind of a leading off kind of off your enemy off the trace, which is awesome because literally America and the CCP is in a war. It's unrestricted warfare. So I think CCP was definitely, because they were hoping that you would not do anything.
Right. Or
if you did something, you would have caught into this, a prolonged warfare. Okay, so they can then attack you. When I say attack you, they didn't. I don't mean attack you kinetically.
Yes.
But they were using this unrestricted warfare, and they would use Americans. They were creating more chaos, more divide. Possibly even bioweapons. Because we did alert that CCP would in the right time possibly release another bioweapon. This in the last episode we talked about it, right? The two University of Michigan scholars was arrested, right, for carrying the biological kind of a material.